craziest card I've ever seen in Marvel Snap. I got it from Data Mines. Don't tell anyone, but go check out snap.fan because they're the ones that did all the hard work that got these data mine cards to allow me to review them. And if you're not familiar with the series, go back. I got a bunch of videos with all the other data mine cards. Subscribe to the channel because that way I make daily Snap content. You can check it out and it's fun and it's awesome. Guys, this card that I'm saving at the end, is insane. It's at the end of the video, so we gotta get through a few first, but we're gonna get there because it's absolutely insane. It was the thumbnail, little spoiler. But here we go. Let's start it off by looking at Titania, okay? Titania is a 1 cost, 5 power. When any card is played at this location, the card switches sides. That's insane, all right? We haven't really seen this effect where your opponent can just play cards at a location and it's going to do things. But I'm giving Titania 3 stars. I just don't think there's enough going on here. And you're probably thinking, well, it's a 1 cost, 5 power. That's why I'm giving her 5 stars, okay? That is like a crazy ratio that we got going on. That's a lot of power for a low cost. And the way I actually see this working is you could play this at some point and then play Beast. It works really well in Bounce Bros because the effect would resolve after, so it won't actually happen. She won't flip sides. Beast will pull her back to your hand at a discount, so she's going to cost 0 for 5 power later on, creating like a miracle turn on turn 5 or 6, right? I see that working really well, and the reason I think that interaction works that way is because if you do Beast after Angela doesn't get the +2 power. She jumps back to your hand first, okay? So I think that interaction works, and I think that's actually a really good play. You can do this crazy turn 5 or 6. We've seen cards like the Data Mine card, Hit Monkey, right? Getting a bunch of power for every card that you've played. And this is just 5 power. So it works well. But I think if you don't pull that off, this might be a detriment. It might give your opponent 5 power. And the only other way I could see this working is flooding your opponent's board so that when you do play this at a location, it's already full on the other side. So there is no switching and it's just 5 power for you. So I hear all those thoughts. Like, I understand that's how she's meant to be played, but there's just a bit of variance and there's a bit of control on your opponent's side. And maybe if you don't get the right cards in your hand, it's a dead card and you don't want to play it because you don't want to risk giving 5 power to your opponent. And let's not forget about turn reveal. So what if your opponent plays a card at that same location that you play a card and then it switches back? Maybe you didn't even want the card. Or maybe there's like multiple cards because I think it's any card. So if they play 2 cards, you play 1, it flips. I don't know. It just gets crazy and it might not work out in some scenarios. It might end up costing you games. So I couldn't give her 4 or 5, but I see the value, so I'm going to give her 3. Then we got Valkyrie. So Valkyrie, I think, was supposed to come out, guys. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be in the second Nexus event that got yanked because they were such a bad idea. But it's a pretty good one, and it's pretty wild. I like that it's only at a certain location, because if it was every card in the whole board to 3 or something like that, that'd be bonkers. But instead, you're just going to decimate your opponent's power if they have over 3 power, which is probably fairly likely. And you're going to be able to buff your own, because I could see this working in like a flood deck, right? Or better yet, Iron Man. Think about it with Iron Man. That'd be crazy. That's +6 power. Yeah, I think there's a lot of crazy things you could do here. Also works really well in a negative deck, flipping her around. She's a 3/5. I don't know if it would set her to 3 power within a negative deck. Very well could. It says all, so I assume so. But I could see this working in a lot of decks. It's also disruption for your opponent, and that's never a bad thing, so I'm giving her 4 stars. Okay, then we got Uncle Ben. Now, right before I get into this 1-star rating, guys, because I know you're going to be upset about it, Uncle Ben, in my heart, it's another in my heart card, is 5 stars because Uncle Ben is awesome. The flavor here is unbelievable. Like hats off to Team Second Dinner for thinking of this one. It's so good, but it's just not a good card. I don't think it's a good card. So he's a 1/2. When this is destroyed, add Spider-Man to your hand, okay? The biggest problem I have with this is that Spider-Man isn't that great of a card either. There's just better alternatives than Spider-Man. Yes, he can win you some games. Yes, he works well with Professor X. There's a bunch of combos. But if you're playing a destroy deck, do you really want a Spider-Man in your hand, a 4 cost 2 power that's going to like freeze up a location? Like, I don't know if you want that. And then if you're not playing a destroy deck, how do you even get the effect off of Uncle Ben? Like, are you banking on some locations that are going to get him destroyed so that you then get the Spider-Man, which you might already be running a Spider-Man? And Spider-Man doesn't have direct synergy with very many cards. So just like there's just a lot of things that have to line up. It gets really awkward. But I really appreciate that they probably did this not for the power, but for the fact that it's just flavor on point times 10, and I appreciate that, and I like it, and the card art looks great, and everything about this card I like except for its power level in Marvel Snap. And then we got Silver Sable. So she's a 2 cost, 6 power card. You can only play this at a location where you have +6 power, a total of +6 power, right? That's really good because 6 power at a location is not hard at all. Like you can do that by turn 2 with a couple variations of cards, right? Like it's not that crazy. I could even see this in a discard deck where you don't care if you discard it, but if you get to play it, then great, because you could play Blade and then Lady Sif and then this, or just there's a lot of ways that you can pull this off. It's just 6 power at really any time that you want. You are location locked, so maybe that becomes a hindrance because you want to get location at another power, but you haven't set up for it yet. And then she's also taking a slot with no really synergistic effect. There's no move here. There's no ongoing, on reveal, or anything like that. She's just raw power. But I think she is enough, and the condition is low enough for it to be a good card. So I'm giving her 4 stars. Okay, I'm really glad we got over that Uncle Ben one. I was really nervous about that. Let's move on to Silk. So Silk is a 2 cost, 5 power card. When anyone plays a card here, move this to another location, okay? It is 3 stars. I like this card a lot. I like move cards a lot. Move decks are really fun. But when I get to choose where they get to move, because there's an inherent bit of randomness in this card. Move this to another location when anyone plays a card here. So your opponent has a little bit of control of moving this. You kind of have control, but you don't have control of where it lands. Maybe it lands to a full location that you wanted to play a card there next turn. It might location lock you. It's just a little bit awkward. It is a lot of power. You can synergize it with move cards like Craven, I suppose. There's not enough move beneficiaries in this game. There should be more cards like Craven. I would really like that. But it's okay. It's going to move around. It's a decent amount of power for its cost, but it's just going to be awkward. Your opponent might be able to screw you over by playing a card there. It goes to a location you didn't want it to. You can move this to locations like Sanctum Sanctorum and some stuff like that, right? So maybe, but I don't know. I'm giving her 3 stars. Okay, this next one I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for because there's some probably crazy combo that I don't know. So please let me know in the comments. But Super Skrull? I don't know. But Super Skrull, ongoing, has the ongoing ability of all enemy cards. 4 cost, 2 power. Now, we know from Rogue that stealing an ongoing ability can be very, very good, and she kind of falls under a similar stat line. But I think the value with Rogue is that you steal it. You know, they're taking away their strategy, you're disrupting your opponent while you're benefiting your own strategy. Whereas this guy, his card art's amazing, but but I just don't think copying all of the ongoing abilities is that beneficial. Like if they're running an ongoing deck and you get all those ongoing abilities in one card, that's insane. But if they're not running an ongoing deck, like really are you gonna get value? And this costs 4. Like you have to get value out of this ability to be playing this card. And ultimately, guys, I think no matter what, you're relying on what your opponent is playing. And anytime that happens in a card, I'm going to give it a low rating. Gotta give Super Skrull 2 stars. And I'm probably super mispronouncing that. I don't know why that's so hard to say. Okay, this next card, these next 2 cards, okay? Probably the best design I have ever seen in Marvel Snap and the worst design I have ever seen in Marvel Snap. One card I can't wait for, one card I want to go die. We'll start with the one I want to go away, and that's Surtur, okay? 5 cost, 0 power. If you move the Human Torch to this location, plus 10 power. I'm giving this 1 star for a variety of reasons, but mostly because of the design, okay? I don't like any card that's printed in this game that 100% relies on you to have another card in your collection, let alone another pool 3 card. Do you know how bad it would feel if you pulled this card but you didn't pull Human Torch until like your last card of the collection road? Like people are already upset about not getting meta defining cards in their pools. Like I can't even imagine the rage of getting a totally dead card that you would love to play but you can't because the other piece associated with it is like time locked between grinding through the game. So please don't add this to the game. Please change it. Another problem is Mr. Negative. It's probably broken in Mr. Negative deck, which just doesn't need to happen because you run like Torch for some reason with Negative and you do some crazy things. I don't know. Here's the other thing, guys. Even if you want to pull this off, you're going to play this on 5. Move resolves before you play, okay? So you play him, even if you move the Torch around, the Torch is getting buffed. You can't actually move anything over there unless there's like some mid-game effect or location effect that's going to happen at the end of turn. You can't actually move things over there until the 6th turn. until turn 6 at the beginning of that turn you can move things over. And you only benefit if you move the Human Torch. So unless you've duplicated the Human Torch and you move them over twice, you're only going to get plus 10 power. This is going to be a 5 cost 10 power. Super hyper condition. Because not only do you have to draw a Human Torch, you got to play them, then you got to move them, then you got to play this. Holy smokes. Like, I just don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. Let me know in the comments. But I think this is really poor design for the player experience. And it's also just a bad card. No thank you. Okay, the one I wanted to talk about the most. The best design that really makes up for that last one. The Living Tribunal. Look at this card. First of all, card art, amazing. Second of all, the effect. At the end of the game, split your total power evenly among all locations. Whoa. This is insane. This card, I can't even begin with the combos with this card, okay? You could only have a card like this in Marvel Snap. That's the beauty of the design, the core design of Marvel Snap, is you can print cards like this, okay? He's a 6 cost 4 power, but honestly, that doesn't matter, because what you really want to do is you want to just go tall. What do I mean by that? You want to go crazy power at one location and then have it split across the other 3 and hope that your opponent can't divide by 3. Winning with math. The thing I think about immediately is the Onslaught combo with like Mystique and Patriot, and then you get these crazy buffs on all your no effect cards. I think that would be nuts. You could really spread the wealth that way. But there's all kinds of like Odin combos, all kinds of combos. And if you can just get as much power, you don't have to think about the locations. You just got to get as much power out there as possible, and it's all going to split up. And there's a good chance your opponent can't keep up with all 3 locations. So they're going to abandon one, which you just guaranteed get because you're just putting out power there. And then you just have to put out enough that you win another location. And honestly, if it ends up you can create 60 power, which I think is very doable in the right deck, then you're looking at a 20-20-20 split, right? 3 20s, which is pretty good. In most scenarios, you probably win the game that way. And then I've seen games, I've seen people with screenshots of like 2,000 power. That's insane. Like if you're getting 500 of power at each location, and that's not even 2,000. Can't do the math. There you go. But if you're getting 500 power at each location, like see you later. You win the game. Okay, that's the dream. Now the big downside to this card, and the only downside in my opinion, is that it is a 6 cost. So that big turn 6 that you want to pull off with like Onslaught or something like that is going to be a little bit challenging. You're just going to have a hard time finding the right path to do that. So you might have to run like Sidelock or maybe Electro or throw in Magic there or something along those lines to allow you to get that extra step to be able to play this card along with your crazy combo. But trust me guys, people will figure it out and this card will be absolutely broken. The coolest part about this card is that it actually has a silhouette in the game. So if you're playing Marvel Snap, jump into your collection, filter by unowned, and look for a card that looks just like this one. You'll see like She-Hulk there, she's a silhouette. I think Super Skrull is in there, he's a silhouette. So there's a few that are like actually genuinely in the game, just ready to be released. We don't know if they're going to have these effects. Again, these are data mine cards, so we don't know if they're going to have those effects. But there's a good chance we'll see them eventually. The last thing I want to say about the Living Tribunal is that because it splits up all the power, there's all those locations that you don't actually want to play cards at, or you can't. Like Sanctum Sanctorum, or I think Death's Domain, the one that destroys everything, or even Subterranea, the one that puts rocks in your deck if you play cards there. You don't have to worry about playing at those locations because the Living Tribunal is just going to split up all the power. There's just so many ways to take advantage of this card, and I think it's just such a cool design. That's why it wins. That's why it gets 5 stars. So anyways guys, that is my data mine review. Check out the rest of the series if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you. We're doing daily content at the moment. We're having fun with Marvel Snap. Get in the game. It's released October 18th. You can get in right now, or you can wait till then and study. And I will catch you guys next time.